Hello, YouTube pipe community, YTPC. Hey, I am really stoked today because I have my Viking pipe right here. And, with the silver band about it. And very, very wonderful pipe to smoke out of. And I got a delivery today. Once again, cherry vanilla. And so I want to say this to all of you. If you have a tobacco that you think would be really good to review or something that you enjoy, and I would love to review it. The tobacco that I'm smoking today within my Viking pipe is none other than what one of you guys had suggested, which is right here. Mac Baren Cherry Ambrosia. And it says mixture. And I can tell you, the room note on this is splendid. It's has a very fruitiness. Definitely cherry in the room note. Very pleasant, very, very pleasant room note. Now, the cool part about this is that I had people in my household just kind of smell it. And immediately they smelled the cherry inside of it and started making, comments like, wow, that's really nice. And what they really like to do is just kind of waft it under their nose a little bit. When they got up close, they didn't like it as much as when they just kind of smelled it from a distance. Kind of like wine, I guess, is the way I would say that. There isn't, with this, if you get it up, obviously if you get your nose like that, sometimes I do that to try to smell it, but if you just kind of waft it under lightly, you'll get all of the smells within the tin. And so I want to say what a great recommendation this was. Now, I did notice off the bat it is a wetter, very much a wetter tobacco. So what I'm doing right now is trying to get, obviously, number really started here. And it is actually doing pretty well. But I wanted to get a little more airflow. There we go. Perfect. A little more airflow into the pipe so it will burn better. Cherry flavor, tin note. Very pleasant room note. And a good taste note as well. Can really taste the cherry on that. So it's probably, I would say, what I'm getting from this, the way it smells in the tin, the way it smells in the air, and the way it tastes on my mouth all kind of match together, which is really, if you guys, what you know as in pipe smoking, can be a rarity, right? Like sometimes the tin note doesn't smell like the room note, and the room note doesn't taste, and they're kind of all over the board. But this really lines up from the tin to the smoke. So this was a great suggestion. And if you guys have any other suggestions, let me know and I will review them. I will smoke them. And I would love to see what you're all smoking out there. Now, I also got Orchard Mist, which is a Missouri Meerschaum. It says it is a crumble cake tobacco, and I can tell you it is true, and it's peach, very, very peachy smelling. So I'm gonna review that. I also got this Mac Baren Vanilla Flake that I'm also going to review. And I got this Aaron Moore Flake, which I'm going to review. And the last thing I got Best of the Rest. And I will tell you, that is the craziest tin smell and note I have ever smelled. It has a lot of different aromas coming off that bag. So in the episodes to come, I'm going to be definitely reviewing those. I've got a few other things that are on their way. But once again, thank you for recommending this. Definitely love it. Very, very, very good. Very good. And a great great suggestion. I wanted to talk to y'all today about caretaking a little bit. We just came off a season in our home where we took care of my father. And we just had to put him in a facility to take care of him because he has severe Alzheimer's dementia. Somewhere in our lives, for the most part, we're going to end up being called in and, to be caretakers, whether we're taking care of children that we raise, a spouse, a parent, maybe even something happens to ourselves and we're being taken care of ourselves as well. I wanted to talk about this because we make promises sometimes that are hard to keep. I want to explain this. When my father and mother were younger and I was younger, I made a promise and I said, I will take care of you to the end. You'll have a place to stay. You always, as long as I have a home, you can stay with me, and I will always take care of you. And that was the promise I made them. I was in my 30s. Younger 30s when I made that promise. And I'm one that, I don't know about you guys, I'm one that when I make a promise, I want to follow through with the promise. Like if I say it, my word is my contract, which means I'm going to follow through from point A to point Z. And that's all there is to it. Very good smoke, by the way. Um, so I made that promise to my mom and dad. My parents started getting older, and so where I lived prior to where I live now, we made plans to build an addition onto our house, and they were going to move up and live in the mother-in-law suite on this addition, and we were going to take care of them. We had just gotten the land plotted out to build the addition, and my mother passed away from congestive heart failure. So that left my father by himself. Now, at the time, my father was very healthy. He could do a ton of stuff and build and mow lawns and everything. So he was actually in really good shape. So when my mom passed away, she passed away when she was 69 years old, and my dad would have been 73. Yeah, 4 years older, 73. He was a great in shape 73-year-old. He had done contracting his whole life, building houses. Very active. He could outgun most guys in their late 20s to 40s. He was just a healthy man. Healthy body. Actually had a massive heart attack and regained 90% of his heart function. Just a really very physically fit man. But his mind was not. And we didn't, by the way, know this. What we knew is that a lot of people from my dad's side of the family had dementia and Alzheimer's. My grandfather had passed away from Alzheimer's and dementia, and my father didn't really seem to have it. Like, I don't know. It was really weird. I'll tell you in a minute where we started catching on to things, but I didn't think anything was wrong with him, really. To me, it just seemed like old age. Like, things you would just be forgetful as you grew older. Nothing to do with brain, just normal wear and tear as we age. That's what I really thought, and so did my brothers, all of us, and family members. Nobody caught on. Now, what we found out was my mom was covering a lot of things up about my dad's mental health. So she was very sharp. Her body failed, but her mind was extreme. So my dad had the body that worked really well. My mom had the mind that worked really well, and together they worked really well together. But when she passed away, my dad's mind wasn't really all the way there. But it took us a while to catch on. And so my father came to live with us 5 years ago, with the promise, once again, that I made that I will take care of you to the end. So we bought a house, remodeled a 1,300 square foot in-law suite downstairs for my father. Full kitchen, full bath, walk-in closets, full laundry areas, even a full workshop because he was a woodworker. Dining room, music room with piano, a massive bedroom, and you know, just a beautiful, beautiful place that I was proud to give my dad. About 2 years ago, First of all, within the first 3 years, I noticed some things with his memory, like he was forgetting things that you shouldn't forget. Names of grandchildren. Not so much car keys, but like birthdays, ages of sons, things like that. Some of the memories of him and mom that I knew were precious. So I started noticing these kind of things. And then about 2 years ago, he had what they called an Alzheimer's stroke. And what that is he went blank, like completely blank. I remember this. It was a Sunday. He came upstairs. He didn't know where he was, who I was, who anyone was upstairs. Absolutely no memory. Complete amnesia. There were photos of him and my mom in front of him. He didn't even know who the people were in the photos. And I said, "Are you okay, Dad? Who are you?" I was like, "Your son. Are you okay?" I said, "That's it. We got to get him to the hospital, So we took him there, and they did the MRI and they did the brain scans, and they saw the dementia and the Alzheimer's on, the brain, which is the gray matter to white matter and the buildup. And check this out. He was moderate to severe, and nobody caught on to it. Not even people he went to church with. He hid it very well. It was really something, So, being the people that my wife and myself are, we said, well, we made a promise, we're going to take care of him. And we went down the road of being his caretakers. This is what I want to say to everybody on this video. If you made a promise to be caretakers to your mom or dad, and they have dementia or Alzheimer's, I struggled with the most guilt in my life, wrestling between, can we take care of him or do we have to put him in a facility? We went to the Office of the Aging. We talked to a lot of counselors. We got a lot of advice from a lot of people. We did our research. We did our homework. We did all kinds of checks and balances and, against kind of what people were saying and what we were in line for, and, a lot of reading and different things. And we realized that probably at some point down the line, if he was kind of what they call a, kind of like a sundowner, they call them, which are the types of people that get very confused at night, wander, tear things apart, that we're going to have to do something. So we did the journey as far as we could for 5 years. We journeyed with my dad. For the last 2 years, it was a really hard scenario dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia. The past 2 years, we had 3 fires started down in the basement. We actually had to take all the flooring up and just leave it concrete. Otherwise, he would have burnt the place down. We kept asking for help, but because of COVID, there wasn't enough help, and there weren't people they could send here. There weren't skilled nursing facilities that had the manpower to help us out. And so we ended up shaving him and bathing him and washing him and everything. Now, he's still alive. But what happened when we had to finally put him in a facility, long-term facility, We were at a park. My dad and me. And some of you know that I do tech and sound, so it was a big event, huge event in this park. Big stage. I was running sound. I brought my dad with me. It was kind of a warm summer day, but we were hydrated. We had all kinds of water. We had covering. He wasn't out in the sun. Nothing. He used to love going to these things with me, so I took him with me. We got done with a sound check for a band, and one of the guys, road guys, goes, "Hey, Pastor Kevin, your father," and we would laugh because we were calling him the boss, my dad. I said, "Yeah. Yep. Better toe the line, the boss is here." And he goes, No, look, something's wrong with him." My dad was sitting kind of over to this side of me and had fallen over into a pile of blankets, audio blankets where you wrap equipment in. He's kind of stiff. He was kind of like this, and we pulled him up and put him in a chair, and he wasn't breathing. His heart had stopped, and he wasn't breathing, and his face was one that I never want to see again. And I just looked, and I said, "Oh my Lord, Dad, don't go, don't go, don't go." And we put him on the ground. I did CPR, and about the fifth round of CPR, his heart jumped and started again. It was a very crazy moment watching a parent die in front of you, literally, and then bring him back to life. That was something. So we got him to the emergency room, and then from there we had to make decisions. He stayed in the hospital 2.5 weeks. They couldn't get his heart rhythm the right way. When they got him there, he was at 20 to 30 beats a minute. A lot of crazy stuff going on with his heart. It wasn't even his mind, it was his heart. But because of the Alzheimer's, it was affecting the rhythm. When they said we have to put your father in long-term, for rehab to get his heart, squared away, I felt an enormous amount of guilt. Every promise you made coming through your head, promise to take care and promise he would never go into a home. He never wanted to. He always said, don't let me go to a home. We really had no choice. And I struggled and wrestled with that guilt. And we got him into a really decent facility. Really decent. I don't know if you guys know this, but nursing homes, there's skilled nursing, and then there's just nursing homes where they stay, and they're caretakers, but they're not skilled nurses, and there's no doctors there. We had to have a facility for him that had doctors and nurses and skilled professionals. But what narrowed the amount of places we could send him was that it also had to have a memory unit, because my dad is a sundowner, which means he likes to escape and he's very deviant. There was more than just the floors being set on fire, by the way. There was a lot of crazy stuff when we were dealing with my dad's Alzheimer's and dementia. So we took him I actually drove him to the facility and dropped him off, and he was, I guess for the first week, he was very restless and wandering, and they were having a heck of a time with him. And after that week, I called him. He seemed to be doing okay. And I kept calling him, and I'm going to tell you what happened. Called him up a few days ago. How you doing, Dad? He said, I love it here. Wow. What? A home? You love it? Come to find out, my dad has always been social. So he's made friends. And he's hanging out with friends and people. And he loves going on rides. So the people that are at the nursing home take him in the van rides with them. And he goes on errand rides and everything. And he's living his best life right now being there. See, as caretakers, we have to, I don't know, you guys, I have to work. I have to go to work. So I personally cannot entertain my father or take care of him all the time without other people helping. And that other person was my wife, and we have an 18-month-old, and we have a 20-year-old, and between our jobs, we were never neglectful, never, to my father. As a matter of fact, he was always upstairs with us, but he likes to be on the move. He loves socializing, and he loves games, and he loves all this stuff. And we can never do that because, I was working and taking care and running around, chasing a toddler around, my wife. So him and my toddler would play, but like I said, he would sit around a lot. He's not that type of person, and now he doesn't. He's active all the time. They have activities and music stuff, and he goes on those rides, and he has his little club with his little friends up there, and he said to me, I love it up here. I love it. It's way better than just sitting around. I say this, and I know this video is longer, and it's kind of a heavier topic, but I want to tell you that the promises that we make when we are young and not realize what we're about, the waters we're about ready to head into, I knew it wasn't going to all be smooth sailing. I'm not naive in those ways that I did not know that there was going to be challenges taking care of a parent. My brothers weren't around. They both live in Florida. We live in New York. They couldn't help, But when I say rough waters, I'm talking like hurricane, typhoon, when you're dealing with dementia. It is very treacherous, and there's not a lot of incentive that the government has given caretakers to help caretakers. The government sucks when it comes to supporting a caretaker, like our home. There's no support there from the government. Now, I'm not saying the government should give us money or anything. I never wanted money. But we needed help. We needed skilled people. We needed people to help us out, to get us through, to walk us through things, and nobody was there. We were literally felt like we were out on this ocean as non-skilled, navigators, first time. So when I was young, I said, oh yeah, we'll take care of you. Don't worry. We got you. We got you. We got you. Reality. Two separate things. And that's what I want to say to you all is don't guilt yourself because of promises you made before you knew the kind of waters you were headed into. If you are a caretaker or you're dealing with this or you're going to deal with it, just know we've been there. I understand every thought that goes through your head. You know, the hardest part of me is watching my dad, who was my hero growing up, strong man, building houses, go to the point where he can hardly write his name and can't remember anything. Thought that a wrench was a screwdriver, thought that a saw was a hammer. So let me just say this. Sending a parent to a facility does not have to be a bad thing. Just make sure you know it's a reputable place, know that they're good, know that they come highly recommended. And what we did is we went to the Office of the Aging, and we went to a bunch of nursing people and things, and we asked them about these facilities, and they literally gave us a list. Stay away from these. These are the ones right here. Don't go to those. Wait for these rooms to open on these ones over here. And if you do that, it will work out and you'll be okay. I want to say to you guys, Alzheimer's is a disease that robs people, just like any disease does, but it has robbed my dad of his identity, who he was. This man could quote Bible scriptures, he could quote angles on roofs, he could do it, and it has stripped him of all that. It is one of the worst diseases I've ever had to encounter. So, if you made the promise to your parents or promise to be a caregiver, do not try to beat yourself up too badly about having to change course. That's what life does. Life does that. It throws you curveballs, and you have to change course sometimes. So take comfort in that you're doing the right thing. Now, as far as this, definitely approve of this pipe. This Cherry Ambrosia is delightful. Very good room note, very good tin note, and very good smoke. And I'll see you guys on the next video.